Retail apocalypse is tearing through everything in its path. And in 2024, even the biggest, most iconic retailers are falling victim to an unforgiving market. Giants that once seemed invincible are now crumbling into obscurity. Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into the shocking collapse of some of the biggest retailers in the industry. What's happening isn't just a crisis, it's a complete collapse. Established giants brought to their knees by mismanagement, ruthless competition, and the relentless rise of e-commerce. Let's take a closer look at the downfall of these retail titans and what led them to their demise. The economic landscape has turned into a battlefield. With inflation, mounting debt, and collapsing consumer spending acting as executioners for brands that couldn't adapt, the scene is grim. Empty parking lots, shuttered storefronts, and mass layoffs are painting a bleak picture of an industry in its death throes. And we're not just talking about struggling mom and pop stores here. We're seeing retail titans with decades, even centuries of history, unable to withstand the financial carnage. By the end of 2024, the collapse will only accelerate as major retailers fall victim to rising operational costs and disappearing customer loyalty. With no end in sight to the economic pressures tearing through the sector, these once mighty brands are dropping like flies. From department stores to specialty chains, the retail graveyard is expanding every day. The retail bloodbath has claimed yet another iconic name. Bed Bath & Beyond, once beloved for home goods and dorm essentials, is now spiraling into oblivion, with losses exceeding $5 billion in recent years. Constant leadership changes and endless discount strategies that have devalued its brand, its survival looks grim. Analysts point to its failure to compete with e-commerce giants like Amazon and Walmart. The company's overstretched supply chains, bloated inventory, and ineffective private label strategy have led to the closure of over 200 stores in 2024 alone. Reports suggest the remaining stores are struggling to stock basic essentials. Employees are being let go en masse, severance packages are shrinking, and landlords are terminating leases. Industry insiders warn that the company is on the brink of liquidation. Loyal customers might soon have to say goodbye to those iconic blue coupons forever. The party's definitively over for Party City. The chain, once dominant in the celebrations market, is crushed under a $1.9 billion debt burden. Skyrocketing helium costs, shifting consumer preferences, and the declining relevance of physical party stores in the age of DIY and Amazon. In 2024, Party City filed for bankruptcy for the second time in 5 years, closing 300 stores and laying off thousands of workers. Balloon sales, its bread and butter revenue stream, have tanked due to inflation and supply chain disruptions, leaving aisles emptier than ever. Attempts to rebrand as a digital-first company have been disastrous, with its online platform plagued by glitches driving customers to competitors. Analysts call it a textbook case of mismanagement and inability to innovate in a cutthroat market. The fact that Party City has survived this long is nothing short of miraculous, but 2024 appears to be the year it finally deflates for good. The collapse of Rite Aid stands as a grim testament to the merciless retail environment of 2024. Once one of the largest pharmacy chains in the United States, Rite Aid now serves as a cautionary tale of poor decision-making and inability to adapt to an evolving market. In 2024, the market has grown increasingly hostile, especially for mid-tier retailers like Rite Aid. Battling skyrocketing opioid-related lawsuits has drained its coffers dry. Filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy earlier this year sent shockwaves across its network, with over 400 stores already shuttered. Entire communities are now left without access to basic healthcare products. Add to that the relentless competition from Walgreens, CVS, and Amazon Pharmacy, and it's clear Rite Aid is fighting a losing battle. Executives tried to cut costs by slashing staff and streamlining operations, but these moves only made things worse. Remaining stores are understaffed, disorganized, and plagued by customer complaints about prescription delays and unstocked shelves. Debt restructuring plans have failed miserably, and insiders warn that the company's leadership has lost all credibility with investors. Even loyal customers have started to flee, with Rite Aid's app and rewards program lagging far behind competitors. The writing is on the wall. Rite Aid is crumbling under its own weight, and it's hard to see how it will survive the next fiscal year. The unraveling of J.Crew continues to stun retail analysts and fashion enthusiasts alike. Once a prestigious brand, it has plummeted deeper into financial ruin despite a brief resurgence after its first bankruptcy in 2020. J.Crew has failed to reinvent itself in a market that has decisively moved on from overpriced preppy basics and uninspired collections. By 2024, over 100 stores have closed, and many remaining locations are ghost towns with racks of discounted clothes gathering dust. Attempts to appeal to Gen Z shoppers fell flat, with critics blasting the brand's lack of originality and its out-of-touch pricing strategy. Meanwhile, the company's disastrous foray into fast fashion backfired, alienating its core audience of affluent millennials and leading to a brand identity crisis. Leadership turnover has only compounded the chaos, with insiders describing a company culture plagued by indecision and outdated thinking. Reliance on heavy discounting to move inventory has obliterated profit margins, leaving it vulnerable to rising production costs and supply chain disruptions. Consumers are no longer willing to pay $120 for a button-up shirt when there are trendier, more affordable options everywhere. With J.Crew now teetering on the edge of a second bankruptcy and facing dwindling interest from potential buyers, its days as a fashion staple are numbered. The Children's Place is in a freefall so catastrophic, it's almost hard to believe the company was once a leader in kids' apparel. By 2024, the retailer has slashed its physical footprint, shutting down over 200 stores as sales cratered. Competition from brands like Target and Carter's has squeezed it out of the market. Parents, fed up with the steep prices and lack of innovation in design, have moved on to cheaper, trendier options, leaving the Children's Place scrambling to stay relevant. Its failed attempt to go digital first has been a disaster, with the company's online platform riddled with technical issues, driving away even the most loyal customers. Once admired seasonal campaigns now fall flat, failing to create the buzz that once made the Children's Place a back-to-school essential. Financially, the company is in shambles, with ballooning debts and razor-thin margins making it impossible to keep up with rising costs. Insiders report that warehouses are filled with unsold inventory, tying up precious capital and leaving executives with no choice but to slash prices in a desperate attempt to stay afloat. Even those measures seem too little too late. Experts predict that without a miracle, this retailer will soon join the growing list of retail casualties in 2024. The implosion of GameStop in 2024 marks the culmination of years of denial, mismanagement, and an industry leaving traditional video game retail behind. After the short-lived meme stock frenzy of 2021 gave the company a temporary lifeline, it's been a relentless downhill spiral ever since. Store closures have accelerated, with over 500 locations shuttered this year alone, leaving entire regions without access to physical game stores. The company's pivot to e-commerce, once hailed as its savior, has failed miserably, plagued by clunky interfaces, shipping delays, and customer dissatisfaction. Gamers, frustrated by GameStop's outdated business model and poor customer service, have turned to direct digital downloads and platforms like Steam, Xbox Marketplace, and PlayStation Store, rendering GameStop's core offerings obsolete. Financially, the company is drowning. It's been operating at a loss for years, burning through cash reserves in a desperate attempt to diversify into areas like NFTs and collectibles, efforts that proved to be as misguided as they were desperate. The NFT market imploded almost as quickly as it appeared, leaving GameStop with warehouses full of unsold and worthless digital collectibles. Meanwhile, the company's collectibles and gaming accessory sales, once a minor bright spot, have failed to compensate for plummeting revenues from software and hardware sales. Constant layoffs and cost-cutting measures have gutted employee morale, with reports of understaffed stores and management chaos driving away the few remaining loyal customers. To make matters worse, GameStop's reputation among gamers, once its most loyal fan base, has been irreparably tarnished by years of poor trade-in policies, overpriced pre-owned games, and outdated inventory. As console manufacturers increasingly move toward digital-only systems, GameStop's very business model is becoming irrelevant. Experts are now calling it a walking corpse of a company, predicting that its remaining stores won't make it through another holiday season. GameStop, once a staple of malls across America, is now nothing more than a relic of a bygone era in retail. Victoria's Secret is unraveling at the seams, with 2024 marking a disastrous chapter in the brand's history. Once synonymous with luxury and glamour, the lingerie giant now finds itself struggling to stay afloat as consumer preferences and cultural values shift against it. The company has been closing stores at a record pace. Over 300 locations have already shut down this year, citing declining foot traffic and abysmal sales. Years of over-sexualized marketing, coupled with tone-deaf responses to public criticism, have alienated entire generations of shoppers who now prefer body-positive and inclusive brands like Aerie and Savage X Fenty. Financially, Victoria's Secret is drowning under stagnant growth and relentless competition. Analysts point to the company's failure to innovate and adapt, clinging to outdated concepts like its controversial fashion shows and stereotypical angel branding long after they became culturally irrelevant. Meanwhile, the company's half-hearted rebranding attempts have fallen flat with consumers and critics alike, calling them too little, too late. Supply chain issues and skyrocketing raw material costs have further crippled the business, leaving stores poorly stocked and unable to meet demand during peak shopping seasons. Reports suggest that even its online sales are plummeting as its digital platform struggles to compete with newer, tech-savvy brands. Experts warn that without a complete overhaul, one that seems increasingly unlikely, Victoria's Secret will soon be nothing more than a memory, a cautionary tale of a brand that failed to evolve. Big Lots is falling apart faster than its deeply discounted furniture and seasonal decor. The discount retailer, which has long been a go-to for budget-conscious shoppers, is collapsing under the weight of its own inefficiencies. In 2024, the company has closed over 150 stores already this year, and the remaining locations are barely hanging on. They are plagued by messy aisles, stock shortages, and a general sense of disarray. Big Lots is falling apart faster than its deeply discounted furniture and seasonal decor. The discount retailer, which has long been a go-to for budget-conscious shoppers, is collapsing under the weight of its own inefficiencies. In 2024, the company has closed over 150 stores already this year, and the remaining locations are barely hanging on. They are plagued by messy aisles, stock shortages, and a general sense of disarray. The declining customer base is also a huge problem. Big Lots has always relied on razor-thin margins to survive, but in today's inflationary environment, those margins have completely evaporated. Rising costs for shipping, labor, and inventory have squeezed the retailer dry while shoppers flock to better-run competitors like Walmart and Dollar Tree. The company's inability to adapt to changing retail trends has only made matters worse. Its half-hearted attempt to expand its online presence has been a flop, with a clunky website and slow delivery times driving customers away. Meanwhile, its stores have become infamous for their chaotic layouts and inconsistent inventory, making shopping there more frustrating than convenient. Adding to the chaos, Big Lots has been plagued by high employee turnover and a toxic work environment, as staff face grueling conditions and low pay. Financially, the picture is bleak. Debt levels are soaring and losses have reached record highs. Analysts are calling it a death spiral, warning that Big Lots' outdated business model and inability to compete in the modern retail landscape mean its days are numbered. For a company that once thrived on offering bargains, its collapse is a stark reminder that even the bargain market, Joseph A. Bank, once a dominant name in men's formal wear, is unraveling faster than the cheap suits it's been trying to sell. By 2024, the company's reputation has all but disintegrated, leaving its parent company, Tailored Brands, scrambling to salvage what little remains of this flailing brand. With over 150 store closures this year alone, Joseph A. Bank has been bleeding money for years due to its notorious buy one, get three free promotions that obliterated profit margins while cheapening the brand's once respectable image. These desperate attempts to lure customers back into stores have failed spectacularly as men's fashion continues to shift toward casual, affordable, and versatile clothing. The company has been particularly hard hit by declining demand for formal wear in a post-pandemic world where fewer people are dressing up for work events or even weddings. What little demand exists has been dominated by more modern competitors like Bonobos and Indochino, which offer better pricing, superior quality, and an engaging digital-first shopping experience. Joseph A. Bank's outdated brick-and-mortar strategy and sluggish e-commerce growth have left it stuck in the past, unable to adapt to shifting market dynamics. Financially, the company is teetering on the brink of bankruptcy yet again, weighed down by crushing debt and the collapse of its once lucrative wedding and business attire categories. Insiders warn that unless drastic changes are made immediately, Jos A. Bank is headed for complete liquidation, and frankly, many think it's already too late. Tuesday Morning has officially reached the end of the line in 2024, with the discount home goods retailer facing one of the most catastrophic retail collapses of the year. Having already filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy twice in less than 3 years, the company's latest attempt at restructuring is nothing more than a smokescreen for its inevitable liquidation. Over 250 stores have been shuttered so far this year, leaving countless strip malls across the country with darkened windows and for lease signs. For a retailer that once prided itself on offering high-end goods at bargain prices, Tuesday Morning has utterly failed to compete in a landscape dominated by giants like HomeGoods, TJ Maxx, and even Walmart. The problems run deep. Poor inventory management, lackluster marketing, and uninspired store layouts have left customers unimpressed and uninterested. Financially, the company is drowning in red ink, with debt piling up and cash reserves running dry. Analysts point to years of mismanagement and an inability to adapt to e-commerce trends as the nails in its coffin. Worse yet, Tuesday Morning's target demographic, budget-conscious middle-class shoppers, has been squeezed by inflation, reducing discretionary spending on non-essentials like decorative throw pillows and novelty kitchen gadgets. Attempts to revitalize its brand through cost-cutting measures have only worsened the situation, with remaining stores understaffed and struggling to maintain basic operations. With customer complaints soaring, experts agree the writing has been on the wall for years, and 2024 is shaping up to be the year Tuesday Morning closes its doors for good. The company leaves behind a legacy of missed opportunities and squandered potential. Barnes & Noble is finally succumbing to the retail apocalypse in 2024, facing a storm it can no longer weather. For years, the company clung to an outdated brick-and-mortar model, hemorrhaging customers to Amazon, digital bookstores, and e-readers. This year, over 180 store closures have been announced, and many of the remaining locations are operating at a loss due to declining foot traffic and dismal sales. Attempts to diversify into lifestyle products like toys, games, and overpriced coffee haven't been enough to offset the declining sales of physical books. Financially, Barnes & Noble is in tatters, saddled with rising rents, shrinking margins, and ballooning debts. Efforts to bolster its online presence have been half-baked at best, leaving its e-commerce operations in the dust compared to Amazon's seamless user experience. Critics have slammed its stores for feeling cluttered, outdated, and poorly stocked, which only adds to the decline in customer loyalty. Even publishers are losing patience as late payments and reduced orders threaten to destabilize the already fragile publishing industry. Analysts warn that unless Barnes & Noble can pull off a miraculous turnaround, an unlikely prospect, it may soon join Borders in the graveyard of failed booksellers. The wreckage of Pier 1 Imports is reaching new depths in 2024 as the once iconic home furnishings retailer faces total obliteration. After limping through multiple bankruptcies and attempting a rebrand as an online-only operation, the company is proving it simply doesn't have what it takes to survive. Online sales have been a disaster, plagued by slow shipping times, poor product quality, and a flood of negative reviews. Customers who once flocked to its stores for unique upscale decor now complain about cheap knockoffs and skyrocketing prices that can't compete with Amazon, Wayfair, or even Walmart. Financially, the numbers paint a grim picture. Sales have plummeted by over 30% year over year, while losses continue to mount. Pier 1's attempt to cut costs by slashing its workforce and reducing inventory has backfired spectacularly, leaving its logistics in chaos and its offerings unappealing. Worse yet, its core customer base, suburban middle-class shoppers, has all but disappeared, battered by inflation and rising interest rates that have tightened household budgets. Industry insiders say the company's management has failed to learn from its past mistakes, relying on outdated strategies and refusing to innovate. As a result, Pier 1's future looks bleak, with experts predicting its total collapse by the end of the year. For a brand that once symbolized elegance and exclusivity, its decline has been as humiliating as it has been inevitable. Office Depot is crumbling under the weight of irrelevance and financial turmoil in 2024 as the office supplies chain struggles to justify its existence in a world that has long since moved on. Once a powerhouse in the business supply sector, the company has been rendered obsolete by the rise of e-commerce giants like Amazon and Staples, which have more efficient online operations. Over 200 stores have already closed this year, with another wave of closures looming, leaving Office Depot in a desperate fight for survival. The company's financials are nothing short of a disaster. Revenue has plunged by 15% year over year, and net income has been negative for 5 consecutive quarters. Office Depot is also grappling with over $2 billion in debt, forcing it to cut costs wherever possible, including layoffs and reduced store hours, moves that have only alienated its dwindling customer base further. The pandemic accelerated its decline as remote work significantly reduced demand for office supplies. The expected rebound never materialized. Attempts to pivot to tech services and co-working spaces have failed miserably, burning through cash without yielding meaningful results. Analysts describe Office Depot as a zombie retailer, stumbling forward with no clear direction or competitive edge. Without a miracle turnaround, this relic of the 1990s will soon be buried in the rubble of retail history. Macy's is collapsing under its own weight, proving that even retail icons aren't immune to the harsh realities of 2024. The department store giant has announced plans to shutter another 200 locations by the end of the year, following years of declining sales and failed turnaround strategies. Once a cornerstone of American retail, Macy's has become a relic of the past, unable to compete with e-commerce giants like Amazon or adapt to changing consumer preferences. Foot traffic has dried up, and the few remaining shoppers complain about poorly stocked shelves, lackluster customer service, and stores that feel like museums of a bygone era. Financially, Macy's is in free fall. Revenue has plunged by 12% year over year, and profits have been wiped out entirely. The company struggles with rising operational costs and declining consumer demand, while its debt stands at a staggering $3.5 billion, with interest payments eating into what little cash flow it has left. Attempts to reinvent itself through smaller format stores and online sales have been underwhelming, with digital revenues falling far short of expectations. Even the famed Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade has become a shadow of its former self as the company slashes costs wherever possible. Experts predict Macy's won't survive another decade if it continues on this trajectory. A textbook example of a retailer that failed to innovate in time. For a brand that once symbolized the height of American retail, the fall of Macy's is as tragic as it is inevitable. Kmart is limping into 2024 as a shell of its former self, an almost pitiable reminder of what was once a retail juggernaut. With just a handful of stores still operating, down from over 2,000 at its peak, Kmart is barely hanging on, and insiders suggest even this meager presence won't survive the year. The company's financials are an unmitigated disaster. Revenue has cratered to less than $200 million annually, a laughable figure compared to the billions it raked in during its heyday. Debt obligations remain a choking weight, with hundreds of millions owed to creditors and vendors who have long since lost faith in the brand's ability to pay up. Kmart's decline can be attributed to years of relentless mismanagement and a complete failure to adapt to modern retail trends. Its stores, many of which are in disrepair, offer a shopping experience that's been likened to walking through a graveyard. Dimly lit aisles, outdated inventory, and a pervasive air of neglect. Shoppers have abandoned Kmart in droves, preferring competitors like Walmart, Target, and Amazon, which offer better prices, better selection, and a vastly superior experience. Attempts to pivot towards smaller, more efficient store formats have flopped, and its digital presence is virtually non-existent in an era where e-commerce reigns supreme. Even its once iconic blue light specials have failed to generate interest, with customers more likely to joke about them on social media than actually shop for the discounts. Employees, faced with low wages, poor working conditions, and constant uncertainty about their jobs, are leaving faster than the company can hire replacements. Kmart's legacy as a pioneering discount retailer has been reduced to little more than a footnote in retail history, a cautionary tale of hubris, complacency, and the dangers of ignoring a changing marketplace. At this point, the question isn't if Kmart will close entirely, but when. The end is inevitable, and it won't be pretty. The retail landscape is a smoldering wasteland, littered with the corpses of once dominant brands that thought they were untouchable. What you've just seen isn't the end, it's only the beginning of the collapse. As we barrel toward the close of 2024, the financial carnage will only worsen, leaving even more stores shuttered, employees jobless, and communities stripped of the retailers they once relied on. These companies didn't just fail, they were obliterated by their inability to adapt, drowning in their own arrogance and refusal to innovate. The days of strolling through bustling malls and vibrant shopping districts are fading into memory, replaced by a cold, impersonal digital marketplace where only the strongest survive. For those left standing, the clock is ticking. The retail industry as we knew it is gone, and the fallout is far from over. Brace yourself, because the next wave of collapses is coming, and no one is safe. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analyses of the retail industry's biggest stories. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think will happen next in the retail apocalypse? Stay tuned and we'll keep you updated on all the latest developments. Until next time, take care and shop smart.